Hi, and welcome back to round two of the Southall Congress. If you've not checked out game one already, I would recommend it. I feel like I played quite well, and it's a very instructive game, so I am sitting 1 out of 1. But yeah, now on to game two. Now, don't be fooled by the unrated above me. My opponent is actually very strong. He's unrated standard play, but he does have a blitz and rapid rating of about 17 or 1800. He also doesn't have an ECF rating, which is what I would normally put there for standard play, because I think he's from India, at least his federation was. So yeah, he just doesn't have an English rating, fair enough. But yeah, not much else to say apart from getting into the game. By this point as well, like it was, I mentioned it in the previous video, but this was played over the weekend, which was really hot, and it was getting really hot in the afternoon. So yeah, I can blame any mistakes that I make on that. So I start the game with one knight f3 as I do with the white pieces, and my opponent plays f5. Now, this is I've mentioned this so many times, and I feel like a broken record already. But I get the Dutch so much over the board. It's such a weird, I don't know, phenomenon or something. Because I actually had to check this myself. But I've had this position one knight f3. This is what I usually play about 1,500 times online, and of that many times. The Dutch has only been played 24 times against me. So compared that ratio to the amount of times that you see me upload a Dutch video to this channel, it's actually quite a lot. Maybe it's because of Simon Williams, the British GM, because I am British, we are in England. So maybe he's made that more popular around here. But yeah, I don't know why it's so popular as a opening, at least in the London circuit. But my opponent's also from the Indian Federation, so I don't know if it's a a UK specific thing. So it is what it is. And I decided to go for D3. Now I did previously against I've forgotten his name. Uh, Sorry, previously, the last time I played the Dutch, I sort of made the commitment to actually learn the Dutch properly, and that game actually went quite well. The opening was a success, but I felt like it was only really a success because I knew exactly what line of the Dutch he was going to go into, whereas I don't know what kind of Dutch my opponent plays. I'm only really prepared for the classical at this point, and I need to do a bit more theory. So I was happy just to play the Dutch Gambit, and it worked like a treat because after knight f6, e4, there are options for black to decline this, but pretty much most people would accept, and it's the most common way people play on lichess and what I've found over the board. He took, I took back, and he took again. I've said this before, but now after bishop d3, black really only has one move, and I'm yet really to face anyone who plays this one move. So really, this weapon is very strong, and white is going to get a very strong position very, very quickly. After d5, black is able to hold. There, you can just sort of take here, go into this in game, you'll win your pawn back. White is slightly better, despite the bishop pair. I have seen also the computer does suggest in this position c4. Maybe this will lead to a bit more exciting gameplay rather than just immediately going for an endgame. So this is something I need to explore in case my opponent does play the main move. But here he played pretty much what the move that everyone plays that I face against, which is knight f6. And already, if you know about this gambit, because I've featured it a lot, this is already much better for white. The computer already says like +1.5. The point being is that you've moved this knight now 3 times. In the meantime, I've developed all my pieces, and you've got this massive light square weaknesses, which is sort of quite unique to the Dutch. Whereas the Sicilian, the other sort of flank pawn opening, you don't have that weakness towards your king, which is sort of why this gambit works so well. It is also quite similar to. It's another famous gambit. I think it's like the Tennyson gambit or something, but it comes along the line where this pawn is gone, and then there's a correlation with the king being lined up, and then you win the queen. So this sort of idea of playing bishop d3 and knight f3 is like it's a gambit in other lines. I just think it works particularly well against the Dutch, especially as this isn't a dubious gambit. So in all lines, white is got still this opening advantage mostly. There are some sort of more trickier ones, but there is no like -2. It's not a Stafford. It's not refutable or anything like that. I play knight g5. This is just the main idea. He plays g6. This is what my opponent in the London Chess League played against me, so I knew what to respond to, and I knew anyway the best move is to play h4. You don't want to get sidetracked taking this pawn on h7 because this can actually be defended by black, and if anything, if you take this pawn, black may even be the one preferred because you've just swapped off a bunch of minor pieces in the middle game. So I didn't go for that. I went for h4 instead. 1 second, sorry. There we go, clean my voice. H4 instead. And my opponent played bishop g7, which I think is quite a natural move, but it just means that I get to play h5. And really, black is under a lot of pressure, so much pressure. I did write this down in the game, but after G6, and H4, my opponent was already down to about 40 minutes. And considering we had an hour, he's already spent 20 minutes on 6 moves. And then on the next move here, he spent another 10 minutes, so he's already down to half an hour. I'm blitzing my moves at this point. And if anything, this is quite a welcome sign for me because it meant that I could get up from the board and walk away from this room and stand outside and get fresh air. But yeah, he clearly was very unfamiliar with this position. I just advance, and he struck out with e5. I feel like he felt the pressure of the situation, and he felt like he had to do something, try shut this bishop down. This is the pattern he went for, and then I just took. I mean, it seemed quite natural to take. I don't really see what black can do in response to this. Computer suggests that knight h7 is slightly stronger, but really they're both good. He pushes. His idea is just to block down my bishop, but I can take back with the knight and keep my bishop on this diagonal. I can also start pressuring this knight here because I saw the line that could happen, which did happen in the game, is after pawn takes back, I can take the rook, he takes back with the bishop, and then a key move here I think is bishop g5, just pinning the knight to the queen and really sort of justifying my point of the knight here. Obviously the knight can be defended, but it's just hard for black, and at any point once this knight moves, then really the main threat is actually I'm going to take on g6, which is, or b6, g6, which is what ended up happening because he pushed his pawn to give him his queen some space, hopefully develop his bishop and give his king some lift. But yeah, I can just take now. He takes back, and I throw in the intermediate move, bishop g6, king f8, and then a nice move again, bishop h6, and we got to this position. And the material balance, I think I'm only up a pawn, so yeah, gotten back my gambit and extra, but just look at the king of black's king. My king is actually really safe. Obviously, if I'm able to castle, this game would just be over. But even on f1, like there's no way that black can get to my king at all, and I'm just going to do it really quickly. Meanwhile, black's king is having a really hard time with all these squares covered. It's almost as if the black pawns that are normally in front of the king are all my bishops. So, like, looks like it now. And yeah, this is a really nice position to play. So I just thought to myself, I can't really finish the game. I didn't see anything because this square is actually covered by the bishop. Queen h5 probably works, but I didn't see any sort of clear follow-up after this annoying check on e7. So I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to bring my knight into the game and pressure him. So that's what I did. And I think this is a strong move. He plays a check that I was expecting, and then just king f1, just hide my king away. I made this mistake before where I went into this gambit where I traded the queens when I didn't need to, and really, why am I trading queens when the king is so open like that? That's the only way really black ever gets back into the game, so just avoid it. He plays c6 because I was attacking the pawn with a fork. I develop my queen, and he develops his knight. And yeah, really, I just want to bring all my pieces to the party, so rook e1 just seems really natural. At this point, like the computer's like +5, I knew that this was completely crushing. And you just have to be a bit patient in situations like this. There's no need to just go sacrifice everything, I don't think, because eventually black will crumble. And if you imagine this, trying to play this, and my opponent especially, I think he was down to very little time now. This is move 19. I've probably got it written down. Yeah, he's already down to 5 minutes. And yes, he was good blitz player and a rapid player, and he's probably more used to lower time controls. But having this with even 30 seconds increment, I think it's just very hard to come up with the best moves. So he blocked. I mean, there's pretty much nothing else to do, and I can just sidestep the queen, attacking the knight, also lining up with the king. Yeah, this is just crushing. I mean, I can probably take here as well. There was also a line back here where I could have taken here, but I mean, that's just sort of going for brilliancy pies at that point. I feel like rook e1's so natural. You can do pretty much anything here. Queen g3, bishop e6, just developing and hoping to get some sort of defense on the light squares. But now I can just show my advantage. And this position I was quite proud of because I saw an annoying response that he had, and I calculated it from this point before I went into the line, so that when he played it, I could actually blitz out my moves afterwards, and it meant that he was really pressured on time because I'd already seen it in advance, so that his time situation was even more of an issue than it was already. And the simple move, it's not a simple move, but the simple start of the line, I guess, is just to take the knight. Obviously, this is quite strong because if you take back like this, then I'm probably like I've just won 2 pieces for a rook, and now I'm even more winning than I was before. Black's king is no much safer. There's probably a checkmate coming somewhere. Um, Now, the move that I did see that might be a bit annoying is bishop h4. Now, of course, everything pretty much still wins here for white, but I want to find a nice clean continuation, which I did. And from this position, this is what I calculated. So the sort of giving it away, the move that I was looking at, and what I think was a really cool move. And maybe when I said that not going for brilliant surprises, this is my brilliance, is bishop f7 check. And it's also a double check, so the king has to move or take the bishop, and taking the bishop seems like the only natural move. If king h8 or king f7, the only other moves, then queen g7 would be mate, so king f7 forced. And my idea was then to play queen. Talking too long, the mic cut out. Queen g7 check, king e8 is forced. Yeah, king e8 is forced, and then queen g3 check, which would then double attack the king and the bishop. And that was my calculation from this point here. Now, if you've sort of followed that calculation, you might have seen there might be a slight error with it. Often is that in my games that I crush people, and I always, for some reason, at one point will just throw my lead. Luckily, whenever I throw my lead, it doesn't come with the cost of the game. Like I'm never worse, but I go from my position like +6 or +7 to maybe even. So what am I talking about? So bishop f7. This is actually correct. This is a really good move. I mean, a lot of other moves here work as well. I mean, even queen f5 is really strong, and then just putting the bishop on g5 is really good. You could play pretty much anything that's winning. Even rook e6 is also winning. It's probably much better. But bishop f7 does work. King takes f7 is forced. Queen g7 is good. King e8. And then my idea with queen g6 is unfortunately an error because I overlooked the idea that he can actually move the king and defend the bishop at the same time. And when he played this, do you ever? I mean, if you played chess overboard, I'm sure you have this feeling of just like, oh no, I've actually messed it up, and you have to regroup. And luckily, I did have a lot of time to actually think about it, and I do still understand that I'm better. Ultimately, I haven't actually sacrificed anything. Material's still the same because yes, I lost the bishop, but I had previously won the knight, and Black's king is still a bit in the open, but it's now got some defense, hence why the position is now a bit more close to equal. It's still +1, so it's not over by any means. Unfortunately for me in this position, instead of going back to g6, the more obvious move I think is just queen h8, and then you're just losing a rook. And black doesn't even get any counterplay, so you move across. This is coming with check. There's no time for black to like hit anything. Nothing's attacked, and yeah, this is just game over. Had I found queen h8, this probably would have been an amazing game by me. But yeah, it is what it is, and this is just even if you calculate the line out from back here. Here even, sorry, it was when I first calculated it. Then you just need to check every move as well. There's no need to sort of rush through it. And I didn't rush through it, but really, I am of the ability to see king d7. I shouldn't be falling for that. And clearly, queen h8 is the much stronger move. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, the game continues. I'm still think white is to be preferred. I had to go for the trade. I think this is the best move. Computer agrees. Yes, to take. I take back. Also, I have to take with the queen. I think taking with the rook is actually losing because of rook g8. Yeah, so I was happy to see that. Take with the queen. He moved his queen across. I brought my knight back because my knight's the only piece that's not like participating. It's not really doing anything from this square. He pushed his pawn. I thought this was quite dubious from him because his king had just found safety after being in the open, and now maybe he feels that he was the one that was going to be attacking, but that's just not true. In this position, there's actually a really strong move here, which is knight f4, which I did see, but I wasn't sure about it after rook g8. Commuter, the only move here that keeps the advantage is queen h6, which I didn't see at all. Had I seen it, I probably would have gone with this, but I wasn't sure after rook g8, so that's why I didn't go for it. I just went for the more natural knight g3. I mean, white's still better, and I'm starting to get my advantage back like I had before. He went to the f-file, attacking my king. I brought my queen up back to defend. It does look like I'm being pushed around a bit, but really black doesn't have many threats because they have to be careful of their king the whole time. He played d4, and now you need to make sure you just don't lose the game on the spot. So Your queen has to keep defending the f2 pawn, otherwise you just lose. So don't be tempted to play sort of an obvious move like queen e2, which means that you can come in like this, but you would be losing to the game for bishop c4. And obviously the queen can't take because of this. And I think you just go down the exchange because the best you can do is this move. And yeah, this is just bad for white. Luckily I did see this, so I just went to a dark square and didn't lose the game. He moved his king up, I moved my rook across, he moved his bishop in, but I saw this coming when I played rook g5, and there's a really nice response here for white, and quite a strong one, which is rook f5, which just forces the queen off the board. The queen has to take the rook, because if you don't, then bad things are going to happen to black. So black should have just taken like this, and then maybe queen h6, the game will continue, but I think white is only really the one playing for win. I think white is better here. But surprise to me, I mean, my opponent was down to 30 seconds on multiple moves at this point. He's really having time troubles. He moved his queen away, trying to keep the game going. But yeah, this is now pretty much just game over at this point. There's multiple moves that win here. I think the two strongest, which is Queen f4, which I played in the game, but also just Queen h6, double attacking the rook. The rook's gone. Yeah, it's just game over. But Queen f4 also wins. He tried to move out of the way, but I can just check again, and when he comes back, I can pick up the bishop with check. And at this point, my opponent resigned the game, which I think is fair enough. Like this is really over. I mean, before I was up positionally, but this is now material and position, so there is nothing black for really to do. You can't come back this way because I'm going to win the queen. If you go back this way, they can just take this with check, and yeah, it's all over. My king's incredibly safe on f1 as well because there's no real way for black. Oh, sorry, for black to get to them. Yeah, is that just checking with the computer? It was like telling me it was a blunder for randomly moving that piece. But yeah, overall not the cleanest game. If we just sort of scroll down, we can see the massive build up they had from the opening, and then that error where I didn't see Queen H8, which is quite an obvious move, and really I should just be checking as we go. There was that little bit with Knight F4, which yes I should have been able to see, but it's not. I'm not super upset that I didn't see it. But then, yeah, just being able to convert at the end because of my opponent's time trouble. So yeah, overall, I'm now 2 out of 2, and I'm joint for first. I think there were two other people at this point that were also 2 out of 2, and yeah, just battling for that, and then hopefully going for the top spot. Now, the next few games were played on the day afterwards, so I'd have some time to rest and yeah, come back for more chess. Anyway, cheers, thanks for watching.